Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and we have some brand new BioWare news to go over in today's video. Kind of a surprise anytime BioWare drops some big news because it's so sporadic and unpredictable, quite frankly. Last time we talked about BioWare, it had to do with Mass Effect 5 and a story leak that occurred on their own storefront. Of course, they denied it, but if you want my take on it, and I did update the video with a comment, I thought that it was a little too specific to be a simple accident by BioWare that is not fitting the current story. I don't buy it. This one, however, is much more official, as we're talking about the title for the new Dragon Age game, as well as when we can expect to see it. This all comes through the BioWare blog, but if you've been paying attention to the Twitter streets, you may have noticed there was a little bit of a leak ahead of that, where Tom Henderson, who has a great track record for leaks, posted Dreadwolf with a timestamp of when we would find out what this Dreadwolf was. The GIF had a dragon in it. Everyone was like, Dragon Age Dreadwolf? Turns out, that's exactly what it was. I wanted to mark that in this video here so you guys can check out Tom, all the stuff he does, and specifically for more Dragon Age updates, if he has any scoops, that is a good place to maybe look for them. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about in today's video and a ton of things to speculate about, really. So let's get it started. And if you're new here and you're into BioWare news and information, it looks like we're going to be getting more this year. So consider subscribing, joining up with what we're doing here. And with that, let's talk about Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Skipping over to the BioWare blog, it says, our next adventure, Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Our next game now has an official name. We know you're anxiously awaiting new details, and today we're excited to reveal the official title of the next adventure across the lands of Thedas, Dragon Age Dreadwolf. And we can see here, this is the current standing logo for Dragon Age Dreadwolf. I love the kind of purple hue we got going on here. Very different, a little more exotic. I like the Dragon Age font. Continuing on, though, you might recall Dreadwolf popping up a lot when it comes to Dragon Age 4, as we originally called it. Such as here, where they first teased Dragon Age, now we're calling it Dreadwolf, and they say, I suspect you have questions. Hashtag the Dreadwolf rises. So you may see that title, and if you haven't played Dragon Age Inquisition, probably the most important game to play ahead of this, then you may be wondering, who is the Dreadwolf? Well, BioWare has provided a spoiler-free update. I will say this, though, it is a major character in Inquisition who does serve as one of your companions. So if you're trying to just watch this video and get a gauge without being fully spoiled on who the Dreadwolf is, I will just leave you with that, and you have the option to click off, play the game for yourself. I recently did that in 2020, gave it a full run-through with all of the DLC. You gotta play Trespasser, by the way. It is quite the task for a pretty grindy game, but there's a lot of story payoff there, and it does fully set up who the Dreadwolf is and why they're doing what they're doing. Now, if you want the more, I put this in quotes, spoilery details on the who's and how's, we're going to get into that. So BioWare writes, who is the Dreadwolf? Solus, the Dreadwolf. Some say he might be an ancient elven god, but some say not. Others say a betrayer of his people, or a savior who now seeks to rescue them at the cost of your world. His motives are inscrutable, and his methods sometimes questionable, earning him a reputation as something of a trickster deity, a player of dark and dangerous games. Whether you're new to Dragon Age stories or you've experienced them all, using Solus's namesake no doubt suggests a spectrum of endless possibilities on where things may go. But at the core of this, like every past game, is you. If you're new to Dragon Age, you have no need to worry about not having met our antagonist just yet. He'll properly introduce himself when the time is right, but we did hint at his return when we announced the Dreadwolf Rises back in 2018. To me, what this little blurb here confirms is that this won't be the same protagonist again. So you played as the Inquisitor in Dragon Age Inquisition, and this could be any character, by the way. You could customize your race, your class, all that stuff, unlike in Dragon Age 2 where you had a preset character. So that looks to be not continuing over. This will be a brand new adventure with Solus, of course, firmly set as the antagonist, as many of us who played the Dragon Age games have come to expect, and BioWare practically confirmed years ago, especially with, again, the Trespasser DLC, and even how the base game ends. You know something is up with Solus. However, what I'm seeing here is, again, if you don't know Solus, they're crafting the story where that's going to be okay. And I think that's great because, again, one thing I liked about Inquisition was before I became a little bit of a lore geek, for this series and went back and replayed Origins 2 and eventually Inquisition, was that I was able to understand and follow Inquisition on its own, but a lot of things had a deeper meaning when I went back and played it with all of the lore context. So if they're crafting the story that way, then I'm very excited for both new and current fans. I imagine when they're firmly setting you in the driver's seat, that we're going to have sort of a Dragon Age keep thing like we've had in previous Dragon Age games where you can import your choices for people who will appear throughout the story. I think that's super important for BioWare to do, and I expect nothing less from them on that front with a AAA RPG, and especially because it's one of the defining qualities of their games. I love that they do these choice imports. Not many developers do it, and the reason for that, it's tough. We still have more to read though, so let's keep going. More Dragon Age Dreadwolf later this year. We suspect you have questions, and they'll be answered in time. While the game won't be releasing this year, we're growing closer to that next adventure. Rest assured, Solus is placing his pieces on the board as we speak. That's all we have for now. But we hope knowing the official title has sparked some intrigue, as we'll be talking about the game later this year. What do you think #Dreadwolf could mean from the Dragon Age team? Let's talk the bare bones first. More coming this year. Now, when could that be? Well, let's hop over to a little news bite here from IGN, who confirmed this year that an EA representative shared the following statement: "We love EA Play Live as it's our way of connecting with our players and sharing what's new with you all. However, this year things aren't lining up to show you everything on one date. We have exciting things happening at our world-class studios, and this year we'll reveal much of these projects when the time is right for each of them. We look forward to spending time with you throughout the year." This seems to be a part of like a little EA initiative, which is finally letting BioWare just govern themselves. It seems like EA has micromanaged BioWare into the ground, and we've seen BioWare talk more in this last year than in the last couple of years. Really starting off with the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, they've began communicating with their fans more and more, and they've understood that going dark does not help anyone feel confident about their work. And I always say that about the games industry, is that silence is a killer here. If they're not talking about their game, if they're quiet, either the heads are down and they're hard at work and they're trying to surprise us, or more likely, in the case of a studio like BioWare that has a pretty tainted history at this point in time, you kind of assume the worst. So they're learning communicating is a good thing. It keeps the confidence because they're ready to talk about things on a consistent level, which means development is moving along nicely, or at least you could somewhat safely assume that to be the case. We can't assume fully the status of the game based off a title announcement, but you get my point that they're confirming things, announcing things, saying, hey, expect to see this game later this year. But as I mentioned, EA Play Live won't be this year. So what does this mean for Dragon Age Dreadwolf? I believe we're going to see this game at the Game Awards. That would be my pick personally. This is where it debuted. I feel like Jeff Keighley tends to bring back things that he has revealed, saying, X amount of years ago, we debuted this big game on stage. Now here's your first look. He likes the continued announcement-based partnerships. We've seen that even with Xbox, for example. Think of Hellblade 2 and the Xbox Series X. Debuted on Jeff Keighley's stage, and then they came back for the Hellblade 2 gameplay. So there are some instances there of returning to the place where it first debuted. And of course, with BioWare, you got to admire Jeff Keighley's stage, which has a ton of exposure there, and they want to remind people Dragon Age exists. Now, what's interesting here, too, is that what can we expect to see? When we first laid eyes on Dragon Age Dreadwolf, it was the prototype phase with character models running around in wireframe environments, and it clearly wasn't far along at all. Could we expect all these years later to actually lay eyes on a game that is relatively playable? I would say so, especially because they're confirming it's not happening this year. That lines up with the rumors that we're saying probably fall 2023 is a good place to punt this game, and we'll keep it in its healthiest state. That's encouraging because it shows that BioWare is starting to understand, and I'd say more so EA is also fully understanding the power of single-player games if you get them right. Now, of course, one thing I do want to tag on here that is really important is, given the significant gap in Dragon Age launches, last time we saw something from Dragon Age in the terms of a mainline entry was 2014. It's been a hot minute since we've seen Dragon Age. And in between then and now, we got Anthem, of course. We got Andromeda, of course. But we haven't seen Dragon Age in a while. One thing we've talked a lot about is a potential Dragon Age Legendary Edition. And I'm still firm on the fact that you got to do this one, EA. You got to remind the people why Dragon Age has redeeming qualities. Because as far as I'm concerned, this kind of has a spotty history. I feel like you look at Origins as this, I'm biased here, peak for the series, and it's the first entry. Dragon Age 2 was a letdown. Historically speaking, it was because I think it launched near Skyrim, but when you go back and play it now, its story is so important for the future of Dragon Age. When you see the Red Lyrium and some of the Dreadwolf teasers, you know that's going to play a significant factor because the whole story for Dragon Age 2 is about Red Lyrium. And then Inquisition in 2014 playing the most significant factor of what's going to happen here in Dreadwolf. I think you need to remind the people of why these games are important, and while you can sit here and say you'll be fine by playing them on their own, a lot of these games aren't accessible, right? If you're an Xbox player, you have back compat. If you're a PC player, you have access to these games, but PlayStation fans are up shit's creek without a paddle, effectively. And I do think that each of these games could benefit from quality of life enhancements, as I've talked about extensively here. You all know how I feel about the progression of the Dragon Age franchise and how I think Inquisition could use the most updates and that probably Origins could use the least. But I just think you can't sit here and tell me straight to my face, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I would really like to see them do a Dragon Age Legendary Edition. I think it's important just for brand awareness. Like if I'm running a business, I think we got to remind people, hey, this Dragon Age thing exists, by the way, and not just another entry, but here's the history of it, here's the story, and maybe we won't be able to import those choices if it's that largely detached, but that would kind of be disappointing in its own right. But again, I'd be thrilled if the game was super reactive. So these are things we'll feel out as we get deeper into the reveal of Dragon Age, but right now I'm marking my calendar for the Game Awards. It would also be awesome to have BioWare have the confidence to do a full-on debut on their own. Like, here is Dragon Age Dreadwolf, and they have an event for it, and they do all the gameplay for it on their own stream. That would be really cool. I think the game does have that level of star power where they could do something like that. But I just hope when they do reveal it, it's a big debut. I really hope that they show out, and it's not just a quick trailer. But now it's looking more and more like we can firmly expect this in 2023, gameplay this year, and that's the title reveal, Dreadwolf, with Solus firmly set as our main antagonist, as expected. So with that, what do you think of all the information BioWare delivered to us today? Are you excited for Dragon Age Dreadwolf? I know we haven't really seen the game, but are you excited on the premise of it? How are you feeling about some of the thoughts I had? Please do fire away. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you're thinking once more. And with that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.